Hey, I'm Liv, one of the founders of Injectable Boost, and welcome to this video. What does it actually cost to start a MedSpa? I'm going to be covering the three main pillars of a smart investment. Now, the three pillars will be the box, the tools, and the actual engine. Now, the first pillar, number one, is going to be the box, and this is the actual build out, a location, right? Now, you can go about this in many different ways. You can actually purchase a whole building, a location, a space, a site, or you can go out and rent, right? But you will be looking at anywhere from 50 to 250 plus K. Now, of course, you can go much lower than that if you just rent out a space or rent a single room. Then it's going to be much lower, of course. But this is typically the single biggest variable. And of course, there will also be requirements to, the medical grade requirements, plumbing, electricity, and so on and so forth. And it is very important, of course, that you make a smart location choice because you will be saving, well, typically way more than 6 figures. And what I mean by that is, as an example, when we go out and decide where to get a location and what locations to get, we first of all, of course, do a market analysis and a location analysis. We actually go out and test the market to see in what area and in what location, and we hold different locations up against each other to see where can you get the best amount of clients. Well, not the best, but the most amount of clients and the best quality clients. That is what I'm trying to say, because you do not want to make a mistake of getting a location in an area where you're not really going to be able to get a lot of clients. So super important to make sure that the location is in a good area and that it's tested. You cannot just go off of what you think or feel might be a good area to get a location in, or what building to get a site in, right? You can't just go off of feelings here. You have to look at actual data, and that's why we always do an analysis and we go out and test it, always. Now, pillar number two would be the actual tools. So smart capital strategy, lease or buy. What should you do? Well, this is on the high end, but that is also because I want to be a little bit pessimistic with this. Now, you can get devices anywhere from 50K all the way up to 300 plus K. And yes, it is true. A lot of the very high-end devices here, they can be around 200 to 300K. However, we typically never recommend to buy a 200 to 300K device because it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get more clients in or be more profitable just because of this device. Now, the truth is, people don't actually care about your device or what brand it is. They care about the results. And the truth is, you can get a much cheaper device that is just as good. It might not have that crazy name, but it's going to be able to give your clients just as good results, if not even better. So that's also something that I definitely want to take you through if you feel like it's a necessity for you. Now, of course, you can also go out and lease the devices. And you're typically looking at a down payment between, well, 10 to 20K, sometimes lower, depending on the device, of course. Now, we, again, always want to make sure to do proper negotiations here and make sure that you can get a good device for a good price. And that is also a device that's actually going to be able to get clients in the door. And nowadays, well, you can also get the devices that can do 8, 9, 10 plus different treatments all in just one device, which is crazy to think about, right? So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, for the third pillar, the actual engine. Well, typically, you're looking at working capital between 100 to 200K. And, well, what is that for? Now, this is for a more full-blown med spa, if I can say it like that, right? You have payroll, so this is if you have a team that you need to pay, and for marketing, rent, utilities, supplies, inventory, all these different things, all the overhead, and also the overhead and supplies and stuff like trash bags, right? That you're not even thinking of. Now, this really has to be broken down into every single expense that you will have in the business. Now, don't get me wrong. You do not necessarily need to have this amount of working capital. It's great if you do, but you can also start a med spa for way lower than this, which I will cover in just a moment. Now, the total investment, well, we can talk about it being approximately 250 to 500K. It's not a cost, but an investment, because year number one revenue on average is between 1.5 to $2 million. And the owner's income out of this revenue is going to be 300 plus K. So you will typically be looking at actually getting your money back within 1 to 2 years, right? Maximum. And remember, again, this is super pessimistic because you can start a med spa again for way lower than this. This is almost top of the top, right? This is if you get a building, if you need to do all the floor planning and renovation and construction and so on and so forth. And if you get expensive devices as well. So I also want to cover how you can start a bit more lean, but still have a super premium and good quality med spa and good services to offer. Now, what I actually want you to do before we move ahead is down below in the description, I have a free download for you, a full med spa cost breakdown, a full detailed checklist about all the different things you need in your med spa, and also the cost. All right, now, next thing that I want to cover with you is, well, how can you start a med spa and what is my ROI going to be? A little bit more in depth than what we've done so far. So what we are going to be looking into here is the med spa turnkey investment and ROI, right? A realistic guide for you on what kind of med spa to start and what it's actually going to cost. So which path is going to be yours? Now you need to decide, because what we just covered in this presentation right here is a more premium full-blown med spa, and that's great. Now you might not want to go down that route, so you can do the lean solopreneur, the growth practitioner, or the empire builder. Now the lean here is going to be maximum efficiency, lowest overhead, and the fastest path to profitability, right? For any kind of practitioner or provider starting on their own. Now, then you could also go the middle route, building a scalable brand with a small team and dedicated location for those with moderate capital to grow. And then we got the empire builder, lastly, aiming for market leadership with multi-service, multi-staff facility. And it is also for well-capitalized entrepreneurs, all right? Now, let's take it and break it down one by one. Lean solopreneur. This is the fastest path to profit. You're typically looking at investing between 30 to 82K as the initial investment. And this is where we look at a pre-owned device, single room rental, and minimal overhead. And you're typically going to be having between 6 to 11K in monthly overhead, rent, supplies, insurance, and marketing. And this is all about really going as lean as possible, minimizing risk and maximizing cash flow from day one. Now, then we have the middle route, the growth practitioner, building an actual brand. And here you'll typically be looking at investing between 98 to 170K for a new device, dedicated suite, minor renovations, and initial staffing as well. And your overhead is going to be a little bit higher, typically between 15 to 28K, around that point, right? Rent, 1 staff member, typically maximum 2, supplies, insurance, and marketing. And then we got the final one, the empire builder, market domination. You're typically going to be looking at investing anywhere from $170,000 all the way up to $1 million, right? You can really start a med spa in so many different ways. And your overhead here is, of course, going to increase depending on what size of med spa you're starting. So 28 to 87 plus in monthly overhead, because you will be having a large space. You'll be having 2 to 5 staff members and extensive supplies, insurance, and marketing. And this is, of course, for those that have pretty significant capital and you want to really build a dominant multi-service market leader from the ground up, and you have the capital to make it happen ASAP, right? Because do not get me wrong, if you start out here or here, you can also grow it into being the empire builder down the road. Now, profitability, of course, isn't just magic, it's just math, which is my favorite thing here, because that actually means we can just look at the numbers and set predictions and predict how fast you're going to be able to hit your goals. Now, the goal is simple: generate revenue that dramatically outpaces your monthly cost. So let's look into that. How can 10 clients change everything for you? Well, a profitable model for a lean med spa with just one body contouring device could look like this. An average package price, about $3,500, which is on the lower end. We've got clients selling their body contouring packages for 4, 5, 5.5K, and you'll be doing about 35K in revenue with just 10 clients. It's crazy, right? So that also means you're going to be doing 27K after about 8K in overhead. Pretty nice, huh? Now, that also means, of course, if you do it this way, well, you can recoup your own investment in typically less than 2 to 6 months, which is kind of crazy. I am someone who likes to be a little bit more pessimistic with the numbers, but the thing is, if you look at the numbers, even in a pessimistic way, this is more than possible if you go the lean route. Now, if you have a lot of working capital and you're able to keep going for a little bit longer without necessarily having to recoup your investment after 2 to 6 months, well, then of course you can go the empire route. Now, there's really 4 keys to a profitable launch. And the first thing that I want to cover with you is start lean, reinvest. You do not have to start out with a multi-million-dollar facility. And overhead is the enemy. And do not get me wrong, like there's honestly nothing wrong with a huge amount of overhead as long as you have the revenue to justify it, right? But remember, if you want to go a little bit more lean and if you don't have the biggest capital to just go in and invest into this, well, remember to minimize overhead so that you can actually be profitable fast, and also that you get the right services on your menu. Now, number 3, pre-owned is pretty smart. We help our clients get pre-owned devices and save so much money. Typically, they're saving between 50 to 70% by going the pre-owned route. And it's not because you need an old, dusty, rusty device. It's simply because you go the smart route and you save a lot of money because you still get warranty, still get training, you can still lease it, right? Now, the last thing that I want to cover with you is number 4. Your team must sell. I cannot explain how many med spas are forgetting all about this. They think that if you have amazing treatments, fancy devices, that it's all just going to come to you, that people are magically going to buy your high-ticket packages and buy everything on your menu. That's not how it is. Your nurses or your practitioner's skill or ability to sell packages, do cross-selling and upselling, is more critical to your bottom line than their technical skill alone. So important for you to be aware of. Now, if you're ready to actually build your profitable med spa, then we can have a chat. Now, Before we get too much into that, I actually want to cover the actual numbers with you, the marketing math, right? I talked about, well, we can just look at the numbers, pause this video and read through this list. I'm not going to cover every single number in this video because then the video is going to be way too long. But here we can look at, well, depending on your marketing budget, these are the results that you will get. And where do we get these numbers from, you might ask? Well, we get it from these key assumptions down here. And these assumptions are not random. They're actually based on all our 150 plus med spas all across the US. And I also took a more pessimistic route. So that means we're doing a front-end intro offer for body contouring, all right? $299. But the back-end treatment plan is going to be $3K. Cost per lead, $10. Lead to booking percentage, about 15%. Show up rate, 80%, because we always want to take deposits. Remember that. Closing rate, meaning actual upsell rate, 40%. Now we aim to get between 50 to 60% upsell rate, meaning for the people that come in to buy the $299, they gotta get upsold. About 40+% minimum they need to commit to the 3K package. Why? Well, because we want to make sure to bring clients in that have a problem for you to solve. And if they actually have flappy arms, stubborn fat, love handles, it's not going to be fixed in one body contouring session. So they got to commit to that package for you to make more money and for them to get better results. And then the treatment cost, about $100. Now, this is actually quite high for a good body contouring device because a good body contouring device has almost no consumables. So these are the key assumptions. Pause here and see, well, based on how much marketing spend I'm spending, then these are the results that I'm going to get. We can look at the front-end revenue, back-end revenue, and total revenue. And, of course, the ROI. So that's that. Now, with this said, I have two things I quickly want to cover for you. Super important. If you're looking to successfully launch your own med spa and you want someone to help you throughout every single step of the process, let's schedule a call. I or someone from my team want to walk you through how we can potentially make that happen for you and what the path would look like for you. Just like we've done for all the people that you see right here, right? People that we help sign the right lease and save money, set up websites, get a booking system, CRMs. And Jason here, who opened up in May, June of last year, 2025, and generated $47K in September from just body contouring. Or Jenny down here, who's getting between 60 to 80 new clients every single month for injectables, right? All these different scenarios can maybe and maybe not apply to you, but I want to walk you through how we can successfully launch your med spa, potentially if you're a good fit, and also give you some specific examples of other people that have been in your shoes and how we solved this for them to make sure that they could successfully open up, but also get clients in the door and have a profitable business. Now, the last thing is remember to go down below and download your free med spa cost breakdown, the full detailed checklist. In the next video, we're going to be covering how to get funding for launching your med spa. Make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.